And speaking of stuff that could potentially burn franchises to the ground, we have this Ubisoft censors all version of Rainbow Six Siege for China's release. Yeah, here we go. This is where it begins. The censorship in gaming, right? When Western values are completely ignored simply because Eastern values need to be upheld. Now, why? Well, obviously the market is a lot bigger in China than it is in the United States, but I don't agree with it anyway. Now, it says here, every version of Rainbow Six Siege across every platform is being censored in preparation for its release in mainland China. Ubisoft decided not to make multiple versions of the game, but instead only wanted one global release, which meant that it had to comply with the 10 rules of censorship that China has in place to coincide with their socialist principles. Yeah, I don't know if I'd say socialist. I'm pretty sure China is still kind of more commie than anything else, at least how it's ruled. Now that they got their for-life dictator, right? Essentially, President Xi is now for-life president, and they just let that happen. So, whatever. Anyway, yeah, they should. This is dumb. This is so terrible, right? So over on the blog, it says there's an explanation. This is what it says. We want to be future-proof. Having the same people working on a singular global version of the game ensures that we only need to do the work once. In addition, we can guarantee that any future changes are aligned with the global regulations we are working towards. This will not change the core, or we will not change the core of the game. We have a commitment to ensure that Rainbow Six Siege experience remains true to its roots. We are adjusting art and visuals, but are not compromising what makes Rainbow Six Siege the game you know today. Yeah. Hey, look, they're noticeable. The changes are noticeable, right? Like the article here says the changes are very noticeable. They're noticeable, but they're not the end of the world in my opinion, but at the same time, I don't agree with this, right? Like, I'm not going to sit there and completely lose my mind over the situation, predominantly because it just is background visuals and something are not why I play the game. Oh, that's kind of cool, but it's not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to play Rainbow Six anymore because they took away some slot machines, right? Because this is the first image here you see gambling. All right, before and after, part of China's 10 rules of censorship is that you can't actively display gambling within the game. Nothing that violates the Constitution, and a few more rules as outlined here, saying, so here are the 10 rules. Gambling-related content, anything that violates China's Constitution, anything that threatens China's national unity, sovereignty, or territorial integrity, anything that harms the nation's reputation, security, or interests, anything that instigates racial, ethnic hatred, or harms ethnic traditions and cultures, anything that violates China's policy on religion by promoting cults and superstitions. This is actually one of the reasons why Ghostbusters never made it to China, by the way. That was actually a big reason, because it was cults and superstitions. You can't show ghosts. Can't show ghosts. How do you have a movie with ghosts being busted? You can't show them. Anything that promotes or incites obscenity, drug use, violence, or gambling. Anything that harms the public ethics or China's culture and traditions. Anything that insults, slanders, or violates the rights of others. And other content that violates the law. Now, these rules were firmly established back in 2014 when the home consoles were allowed to be sold in the mainland of China. Now, if you're wondering about the skulls having to be removed from the game, it's because it fits under China's rules against promoting cults and superstitions, as they have a firm policy in place against promoting imagery with skeletons or skulls of the dead. Again, no ghosts. Now, this also means any sexually suggestive imagery within Rainbow Six has to also be removed, including neon signs indicating that a strip club is present had to be replaced. As you can see here, it's not showing a woman on a pole. It's now showing just a neon hand. Again, not the end of the world. Not the end of the world, but I can understand why people are upset. And gamers originally worried about AAA publishers starting to censor Western releases to comply with China's tight censorship laws in the mainland in order to attract the massive 1 billion strong consumer demographic in the ever-expanding Chinese market. Yeah, and that's true. That's what's going to happen. That's totally what's going to happen. And that's business. Now, listen, in no way do I support this. I'm merely saying that from just a business perspective, it makes sense. Right? Ubisoft wants to get into the Chinese market. The Chinese market means money. Ching. And the reason why it means money is because they have an emerging middle class. That's one of the reasons why Hollywood will censor certain movies in China, why only 16 non-Chinese produced films make it in there every single year, because the movies that do have the ability to make some serious cash, unless it's like Black Panther or The Last Jedi. They don't make any money in China, but the other ones do, because, that's a market that's there now. and they want to be able to get in there. And so games and movies and other forms of entertainment are having to change themselves and alter themselves in order to be able to comply with that billion strong market. And the thing that sucks about that, the thing that really sucks about that, is the fact that Ubisoft here is just admitting that they're lazy. They're just admitting that they're lazy. They're going, well, I mean, you know, I don't really want to, we don't want to deal with this. We don't want to deal with this particular problem. We don't want to deal with this whole situation. All we really want to do is just, make one globalist product so that way we don't have to deal with it and we can get back to making the game. And to be fair, and this is just me being honest here, as things progress down the road, as things change down the road, new games come out, this won't even be a problem. It's just that they're censoring it now. And if they don't put it in the game to begin with, then you're not going to know it was ever a thing. That is, unless some artwork comes out or some employee spills the beans, which would, seem to make some sense. But in the meantime, that's just kind of where we are. It sucks, but this is the problem with China. This is the problem with China and countries like China that impose those kind of restrictions on their people. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if there's anything to do about that. There's anything we can do about that. But I mean, again, it boils down to this: vote with your wallet. If this offends you to the point of where you just don't want to touch these games anymore, then by all means, But I do want to say, because I don't want people to think that I'm on the side of Ubisoft doing this. I'm not. We are seeing the other side of that as well, where Americans are censoring Japanese games. Sony has been doing this quite a bit recently, censoring Japanese games with what they call problematic content. They don't want it coming over here through the localization process. They don't want that. So that becomes an issue too, where you've got both sides that are playing to the other in terms of the moral panics that they like to put out, rather than just letting the art exist as it exists. So you'd like to think that we're a free nation, even here, that we would have this kind of free expression when companies are saying, no, we don't really want to get that in our game that's going to go out to a wider market. It sucks. And the only way to I think the only way to get around that is to seriously just vote with your wallet. Just don't buy these games and let them know this is the exact reason. So there you have it, but we'll still have to wait and see what happens in the future.